Dennis Rodman has been one of the most famous and skilled basketball players to grace the leagues, and even off the court his name is still highly popular, but for other reasons. In today's episode, we'll be talking about how Dennis Rodman says visits to gay clubs inspired him during his NBA career, as well as other sports players who are queer. If you're curious to find out Rodman's inspirations and the list of other queer players, then keep on watching. First, NBA Hall of Famer Dennis Rodman shares going to gay clubs improves his mental health. Despite becoming one of the most famous basketball players of all time, Rodman also saw several low points in his life. With 5 NBA titles under his belt, as well as being inducted into the Hall of Fame, he admitted that there came a time that he wanted to end all things. This particular moment happened back in 1993 after Rodman led the Detroit Pistons to their second NBA title. The untimely passing of their team's coach, Chuck Daly, was a heavy blow for Rodman since he considers Daly as his father figure. It wasn't long before the athlete switched teams and moved to San Antonio Spurs, where the change in environment helped him cope with what he's feeling. In an interview with GQ, Rodman opened up how he overcame these thoughts and feelings. In San Antonio, I started going to gay clubs, the Hall of Famer detailed on his experiences. I started going to drag clubs. I started bringing drag queens to games. When you talk to people in the gay community, someone who does drag, something like that, they're so effing happy. They hold their head up high, so high every effing day, man. They're not ashamed of us. They're not trying to prove anything. They're just out there living their lives. At one point, he even thought about sleeping with fellow men, but thought the better of it. Being surrounded by drag queens reminded him when he was younger, when his sisters would dress him up whenever they played together. I didn't have no brothers, no father. I hung out with my sisters all the time. They were just trying to make me dress up, he tells GQ. So I was like the guinea pig of the family. Even at an early age, Rodman had a sense of who and what he was, but admittedly, he also shares how wearing a dress made him feel good. Being shoved into the spotlight also contributed to the pressure he felt, seeing as how he's always being compared with some of the greatest at that time, including the basketball icon, Michael Jordan. You got the greatest basketball player on the planet, Jordan, the second greatest in Scottie Pippen, and then you got me, the devil, he said. There's no denying his basketball skills, which are probably why most people took a blind eye to his unusual off-court activities. But it's these interactions outside of basketball that helped him thrive and be comfortable as himself. More of his life is detailed in his autobiography titled Bad as I Want to Be, which was published back in 1996. In particular, the memoir covered the time of his life from when he played as part of the Chicago Bulls, then came to win 3 NBA championship titles. Now let's talk about the positive impact the LGBTQ community have provided for individuals. Compared to years ago, society's acceptance of the queer community has progressed a long way, although it's still in its initial stages to achieve equality for all. Nevertheless, it has provided a haven for individuals on the road to discovering their sexuality, while others see it as a form of freedom. Although drag queens are usually depicted as comedy queens, the community has been welcoming to anyone and everyone, which is what Rodman was seeking at the time. Rodman openly encourages gay athletes to come out. Living openly as he was from back then, Rodman has also expressed in an interview with Business Insider back in 2019 that more gay athletes should come out. While promoting ESPN's 30 for 30 documentary titled Rodman for Better or Worse that came out that year, Rodman urged queer athletes to have courage and come out. He was an openly ally to the LGBTQ community and even openly invited drag queens to his games, which can be seen during a portion of this documentary. He even went as far as gracing the cover of Sports Illustrated donning lingerie, which he believed was pivotal for many queer athletes back in 1995. They didn't know the fact that when they shot that cover for the Sports Illustrated that was the best-selling Sports Illustrated ever, Rodman said. And then the gay community started to reach out to me and said, wow, we never knew that our community can be represented like that in sports. People didn't know at the time that what I was doing that. He continued, I was, doing all the drag clubs. I was dressing in drag. I was dressing in women's clothes. I was doing lingerie and stuff like that. People in the gay community started embracing me. He continued, if you're gay, I didn't give a D. Aside from that, he also believes that around at least 10% to 20% of the people in any any sports are gay. Rodman ended this statement by saying that as long as the athlete plays and performs, it doesn't matter. Now let's cover a list of athletes who came out as part of the LGBTQ community. Coming out has always been a hard and personal decision to make, as athletes are often under scrutiny from the public eye. This feat is all the more impactful since not all people are open to the prospect of having queer people play for their team. Regardless of that, we've seen several high-profile athletes who have publicly come out loud and proud, which are the following. First, we have Ryan Russell, NFL. Starting this list is NFL's Ryan Russell, who became the first openly bisexual person to play not only in the NFL, but also in any major league. He has played for the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before becoming a free agent. Russell made the bold move of sharing with the public his sexuality back in 2019 in the form of an essay that was shown on ESPN. Let that sink into your brain. Even though openly LGBTQ people are thriving in every area of the public life, politics, entertainment, top corporations in America, they're so invisible in pro sports that a gossip blogger is doing a favor for a bisexual football player by not disclosing that he happens to date men. Russell wrote in his coming out essay. He also added, "Nobody should need a favor to live honestly. Nobody's world should being careful mean not being yourself. The career you choose shouldn't dictate the parts of yourself that you embrace." Next is Ryan O'Callahan, NFL. Another athlete who admitted that he was part of the queer community was in another player from the NFL, Ryan O'Callahan. He's played for a total of 6 seasons before retiring under the New England Patriots, as well as Kansas City Chiefs before retiring in 2011. O'Callahan struggled a lot with his sexual identity and even admitted that he thought of killing himself, aside from being addicted to painkillers because he was a closet gay, but thankfully he sought help with a psychologist who advised him to come out to his loved ones that pulled him out of a dark place. Eventually, O'Callahan came out in 2017 after receiving love and courage from his family and friends. In 2019, he finally opened up with the topic, which he told NBC News, "My whole plan was to play football and kill myself," the former athlete admitted. "I was convinced from a young age that my family would never love me if they knew who I really was. The things you hear as a child every time you hear someone say F or talk bad about a gay guy, you see something on TV and it makes fun of that. If you have a closeted kid, he hears every one of those times you say something. It sticks with him." This was 25 years ago. Most of the things they said were out of ignorance, not hate. Now, Jason Paul Collins, NBA. Then we have the first openly basketball player to play in the NBA, Jason Paul Collins, who played for the Washington Wizards center. Collins made headline news back in 2013 when he came out as gay. That made him the first person to openly come out in any of the 4 major professional sports, which he shared in an article with Sports Illustrated. "I'm a 34-year-old NBA center. I'm black and I'm gay," Collins wrote. "I didn't set out to be the first openly gay athlete playing in a major American team sport, but since I am, happy to start the conversation," he said. "I wish I wasn't the kid in the classroom raising his hand and saying, 'I'm different.' If I had my way, someone else would have already done this. Nobody has, which is why I'm raising my hand." The times of today have been more accepting of the queer community, and yet they still suffer from being ostracized and bullied by many. With many more coming out as part of the community, it's shed light and given hope to many who are yet to come out of the closet. And with that, we're ending today's top video about how Dennis Rodman's visit to gay bars inspired his career, as well as several athletes who are part of the community. Thanks for watching.